There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing a personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
When you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
The viewpoints, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyAccess.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website.
The warning flag is up. It's time to get ready for Miami Hurricanes football. Welcome to the Miami Hurricanes pregame show on the Sports Talk 305 network. The show is mastered by Sean Stanley and Chad Shobe. Here's your hosts, Orlando Alzugari and Mike McCoy.
Good morning, boys and girls. Yes, sir, it is time to rock and roll. Yes, get you ready for a little Canes and Southern Miss. Now, listen, while I tell you good morning, while I'm looking forward to this matchup, we are not going to blow smoke in directions that we don't need to. This should not be a game today, okay? This should not be a game today. Miami should be able to handle Southern Miss easily in this contest, okay? Just, we'll get to it. We're going to talk a lot about the Canes, about Frank Gore Jr. over the next couple of hours. David Wilson is going to join us from the Miami Herald. We'll have a little fun with him at 10:30. Actually, Mike, my co-host, will be joining us right around just before the 11 o'clock hour. Scott Watkins is going to stop by. He covers Southern Miss for the Sun Herald, so we'll talk to Scott about Southern Miss. So we'll get into that. We'll go over some of the lines starting over in the games. I'm going to give you an A. Lenny Locksmith lockdown segment because we are 10 games over 500 at 31, 21, and 2. We already gave you one for Sunday, but I figured that today we got to give you one on this slate, and we'll go through what's going on in the ACC. We'll talk about some of the big games in the top 25, some of the games that are interesting, okay? Alabama and Texas is interesting. That's what I'm saying. Those kind of matchups in the top 25 because, of course, there are some teams still playing cupcakes, like Miami playing a cupcake today in Southern Miss. So we'll get into that also. Had fun last night. I went to the 80s, whatever, Lost in the 80s concert. Wang Chung was excellent. It was really good, actually. Naked Eyes, dude can't sing anymore, and Stacy Q. Oh my God, yeah, that's that wasn't good there. There were some were past their primes, and then some are still in their primes. And Wang Chung and English Beat was fantastic. The whole place was rocking. So that was actually really, really good last night. Had a nice evening last night with the wife over at the Pompano Beach Amphitheater. Then came home and got ready now for this beautiful contest with the Hurricanes. Look, this is basically the preseason. That's what's going on here. That's what this is. It's the preseason. Nothing more, nothing less. And there's nothing wrong with having a little preseason. They have it in the NFL. And here, Miami, you've got a brand new program now, right? You've got new leadership. You're installing new offenses and new defenses. So everybody is learning. The coaches are learning the players. They might have learned so much about the players throughout the offseason, but now in game-like situations, they're going to get to know their players a little bit more. And they're going to find out, they're going to determine who belongs here and who doesn't. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of part of this whole process. And I love starting off, back in the day, and Florida State would start off the season, and that would be awesome. But those were programs that were already made. This program's not made. They're not turning it over like Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State and these kind of teams that they just reload. Miami used to be like that. They're not like that right now. They're not at that. They're not even close to that point yet. I hope we get there. I hope we see that. That would be really fun for Canes fans out there. I experienced it. There's this thing with Canes and Dolphins fans that I'm a little bitter about. And as an older guy, I experienced the greatness of the Canes and the Dolphins. But young people, for the last 20 years, they haven't experienced the greatness of the Canes and the Dolphins. And that pisses me off. I want the younger generations to feel greatness and have some fun like we did, whether it's a Super Bowl, whether it's a national championship game, parades, just the proudness of it. You know what I'm saying? Having that that level of excitement that you're that good, and hopefully they'll get there. But the good thing for Mario is that you have two cupcakes, that you get to kind of fine tune your team. There wasn't a lot of sloppy tackling last week. He wasn't satisfied with it, but that's all right. That's cool. It was a little less. I didn't see any of the buffoonery on the sidelines. They acted professional. I like that. There isn't a lot of the celebrating going on for no reason at all. Dude, you're playing Bethune-Cookman. There's nothing to celebrate. Hand the ball off when you score. You get a turnover. Just come to the sidelines, a couple high fives, move on. You're beating Southern Miss. You go to Texas A&M. Now you can celebrate a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Not too much, but yeah, you can enjoy yourself. The celebration should be towards the end of the season when you're in a big-ass bowl game and you're in a playoff, or you're trying to win a big bowl game, or you're trying to win the national title. That's when, you want your celebration. So Mario is already teaching them how to be mature in this process, which is really important. This was a very immature program for a long, long time. So Mario now has to reinstill that professionalism into them. And hopefully, that's where we start. We're already seeing it. We're already seeing it. And that's the good thing. And now you get two tune-up games before you get to Texas A&M. And we'll have all the coverage for you. We may be at a bar. You never know by next week. I don't know yet. We'll see. But anyway, we'll have some fun with all of this. This is good to build it up, leading up to the tough part of the season. So but I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh my God, this is a game that it's a tough game. This is quite a contest. This will really challenge the Canes. Some guy on Twitter put this morning. I think he put like 50-20 or something like that. And I said, if they score 20, then the Canes played a bad game. Let's just be honest. If they scored 20, then the Canes screwed up. They had a lot of missed tackles. They had a bunch of bad drives. I mean, last week it was 70-13 against Bethune-Cookman. Look, Southern Miss lost to Liberty last week in 4 overtimes, 29-27. In 4 overtimes, they could muster 27 points against Liberty. Let me say that again. 4 overtimes against Liberty. Their quarterbacks, their starting quarterback was 4 of 8 for 89 yards. They had some injuries too, but still not a guy that, they really trust. Ty Keys, a freshman. What else? Frank Gore passed 4 times. Frank Gore Jr. He was 1 of 4. So he wasn't very good either at passing. Now, he did rush for 32 times, 178 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he did great. Their leading tackler was the defensive back Malik Shorts with 12 tackles, 11 solo. Your defensive back was your leading tackler in that game. I mean, I would love to tell you that this is an incredible test. This is stack the box, stop Frank Gore, and that team shouldn't score anything pretty much today. Let's be honest now. If you're looking at this team for what it is, Miami should dominate today. And in a game where you got to continue to work on your tackling, make sure you don't have the missed tackles. This is great that you're facing Frank Gore Jr. because he's a good running back. So at least you'll get that test. The only problem is it's the obvious. They've got nothing else going on that team at all. Their receivers are nothing. Their quarterbacks are nothing. Their top receiver was the kid Caston last week. 2 receptions, 54 yards. Jacarius Caston. It's not a team that's going to scare you much. And if they do score, again, 27 points in 4 overtimes against Liberty. Yeah, that guy on the Twitter this morning, he thinks they're going to score 20 on the Canes. I'd be very disappointed if they scored 20 on the Canes. And I feel for Frank Gore Jr., obviously, because legacy with Frank Gore Sr., but today it's about shutting down Frank Gore Jr. and making his life absolutely impossible and saying, all right, Southern Miss, what else do you have? What else can you do today? You know what I'm saying? That's really what I want to know. What else can you do? Because I just don't see it. Now, on the UM side, the good thing is, all right, Parrish was awesome. Thaddeus Franklin, all that good stuff. But Jalen Knight and the Rooster is back. So now you get another back in there, and it's really important to get him some playing time this week. Why? You got Texas A&M next week. So you want as many backs as you can possibly have for next week. So this is a good game for Jalen to get some play. This is a good game for Jake Garcia to get a little more run. Tyler should be sitting sometime in the early 3rd quarter. He should be sitting down. Hell, and maybe you control the whole damn half and just give the second half. I doubt it. It'll be that much, but That's the good thing. I'm looking forward to seeing also Jake Garcia play today. And then the other thing is the wide receivers. Outside of Xavier Restrepo, you've got to start developing some other guys. Other guys have to step up in a big-time way, or it's going to be a problem. Because once you start getting into the bigger matchups, this has been our concern. This is why sometimes with some of you fans out there, you got to slow your roll, man. There are some people out there that I think have an incredibly unrealistic point of view of the Canes this year. I got a buddy of mine that thinks they can win the ACC. I'm like, they have no shot at winning the ACC pretty much. Unless Clemson gets, saddled by all kinds of injuries, they should be, the winners of the ACC. They're the better team. They're loaded. Miami's not there yet. They're not that mature at that point. It's just some of you, and see, this is what happens with some fans. You put unrealistic expectations, and when the coach doesn't meet your unrealistic expectations, then you blame it on him when really it should be on you. And this is a developmental year. This is a year where you find out what you have, who sticks, who you're going to put your arm around by the end of the year and say, hey, I just want to warn you that next year, I don't know if you're going to get a lot of playing time. So if you have an opportunity, you may want to seek for another opportunity somewhere else. Doesn't seem like you really fit what we're doing here. And so that's what you do with some of these kids, so you can give them an opportunity to go somewhere else so they don't just sit on the bench for the rest of their careers and then they're pissed off, and at least you were honest enough with them and you told them. That's what this year is about. Figuring out who stays and who goes, figuring out who are the good players, who's not, and then you've got to continue to recruit to fill the holes that you currently have. I just want this team, what I saw last week, less sloppy play, more professionalism on the sidelines, more discipline from a team, a better coaching staff. That's what I got from the Canes last week. I got what I wanted. They kicked Bethune-Cookman's ass like they're supposed to kick their ass. And today they're supposed to kick Southern Miss's ass. They're supposed to trash the crap out of Southern Miss. That's reality. But for the season, hey, man, try to win the Coastal. Get the Coastal. That's really realistic. Maybe get into that AACC championship game. I don't expect you to win it. If you win it, wow, that's just above and beyond. That's the way I look at it. But some of you out there are thinking that you're going to be in the national championship picture and those kind of things. I mean, it's going to be a really tough game next week to win against Texas A&M. That's going to be a bitch of a game because the Canes have not been built that way for years now. And so all of a sudden we're expecting them to win those kind of games. Remember, that's the thing about us old Canes. Us old Canes fans, it's like, okay, we watch them play anybody, anywhere, anytime, and beat you anywhere, anytime on the road. But that's not this program yet. I think Mario will get them there, but I don't know if they have enough of those some bitches that you need in order to accomplish that. All right, I told you we give you our A. Lenny Locksmith lockdown segment. We got a bunch of games, a bunch of lines going on in college football. Alabama's favored by 21 over Texas today. Texas A&M, Miami's opponent next week, is favored by 18.5 over App State. The Gators are favored by 5.5 over Kentucky. There's a bunch of games going on, man. Baylor and BYU is favored by 2.5 over Baylor. Another game at night, USC favored by 9 over Stanford. So what game will we be picking in today's A. Lenny Locksmith lockdown segment?
Time to lock in Lockdown. The Lockdown is brought to you by ALennyLocksmith.com. Services in South Florida from Miami to Port St. Lucie. In Central Florida, ALennyLocksmith.com locks it down in Orlando and Tampa Bay. Here's the Big O to tell you what needs to be locked down.
Let's go with this game. Miami is favored by 26.5. The over and under is 51. Southern Miss is plus 1,500 on the money line, and the Canes are minus 4,000 on the money line. You like that line right there, right, Sean? Lay 4,000, win 100. Those are good odds right there, right, Sean? Anyway, I got a couple of them for you here in this one. We're going to lay the 26.5 because I believe the Canes need to lay the wood on Southern Miss. If this game is within 26.5, then the Hurricanes did not play a good game today against a very bad team that is one-dimensional, barely beat a Liberty team in 4 freaking overtimes, and could only produce 27 points again against a bad Liberty team in 4 overtimes. They don't have the offense. They don't have the defense. They don't have enough talent to hang with the Canes on the field today. I am going over 51 because Van Dyke will be scoring, Garcia will be scoring, and I would imagine, the running backs are going to have a field day today. So I'm going to go over 51. Miami should score themselves alone. They should go over 51. It should be over and under Miami 51, not the game. Not the game. Not the game. So I'm going Canes minus 26.5 and Southern Miss and Miami over 51. That, my friends, is your A. Lenny Locksmith Lockdown segment.
The Lockdown is brought to you by ALennyLocksmith.com. Lockouts or lock changes for home or business. Car key replacements and programming. All model cars. 24-hour service. Call them anywhere in South Florida at 855-869-5625. Go to the website at ALennyLocksmith.com where we lock it down.
And by the way, if maybe you're at the game and you're a little too drunk or high or whatever, and you get locked out of your car, you may want to call ALennyLocksmith.com. They will get you out of your vehicle there. Or will get you into your vehicle, actually. They'll even reprogram the keys for your car if you need that too. So if you're locked out of your home, you're locked out of your car, ALennyLocksmith.com. I don't care if you're in Miami or all the way up in Port St. Lucie. Doesn't matter, man. They will take care of you all the way up there, man. And then also our friends, in Tampa and Orlando and in Phoenix. Also, we have A. Lenny Locksmith, locations there also. EM Baller, thank you, sir, for the love on the super chat. He says, drinking an Edge while watching Big O. Hook 'em. Yeah. And speaking of Edge energy drink, which, by the way, myedgedrink.com, just like EM Baller went to, you can't get it in a store. You want the finest energy drink on the planet, which is really good for Canes and Dolphins games. You mix it in with a little vodka. I like it. Way to go, EM Baller. Go to myedgedrink.com. Use our code Big O. Get 10% off. Delicious, smooth, and zero aftertaste. And only 78 calories. What a joke. 78 calories. It's just ridiculous. myedgedrink.com. Use the code Big O. And listen, if you want the Canes to get back to kicking that ass, they need that edge. That's really what it's all about. That's Mario Cristobal lives with an edge, right? You look at that dude, always intense. That's the edge. You look at that dude, always professional. That's his edge. You look at that dude, his work ethic is second to none. That's his edge. You look at that dude, his word is gold. That's his edge. That's why he's made up of what he is, what he stands for. because all of these things are so damn obvious with Mario Cristobal, and everybody that meets him is impressed with his professionalism, with his dedication, with his commitment, with his drive, all of those things. They were impressed with him as a player. They're impressed with him as a coach. They're impressed with him as a leader, because that's what you need. If you're going to give your kids an edge, well, then you better have it, right? It helps a lot when a young man or a young lady grows up in a household that their parents stand for something. It gives them a chance. It doesn't mean that they're always going to be, heading down the right path, because I've seen parents that do all the right things and your kids still go awry sometimes, But there's a better chance that your kid will have the qualities that you need in life to succeed if you're displaying those qualities. And that's what Mario does every single day. So the whole example of the quarterback being the first in the building and last out of the building, and if your best player is working hard, then everybody on the team is like, oh, shit, man, this guy's way better than I am. He carries the FN team, and he's always working. Well, I better do my part. And it puts pressure on you. It puts expectations on yourself right away. Because if you have any scruples, you don't want to be the weak link. You don't want to be the reason why your company fails. You didn't get the deal done. You didn't make the sale. You didn't score the touchdown. Whatever it is, you don't want to be that. And so it takes leaders to set those examples, and then that trickles down. It doesn't matter if it's in your house. It doesn't matter if it's in a law firm. It doesn't matter if it's in a regular business, and it doesn't matter if it's a football team. Your coaches, your captains, they have to set an example. And that's what they're watching when they see Jason Taylor. Jesus Christ. You know Jason Taylor. I know Jason Taylor. Professionalism at its max. Dedication at its max. Drive at its max. And he's got a whole bunch of those kind of dudes on that staff. And that's the reason why you feel good about the direction that the Canes are going in now, because they have the right leaders. They have the right person that has been there and done it before. Manny Navarro has said it many times on our show over the years that where the Canes fail is that they don't get a coach that has already built programs, that has been there and done it. They keep trying to get the up-and-coming coach that has never done it or was on a small program, and now you're hoping they can do it on a major level. No, you need to go get somebody that's done it on a major level and bring them. And guess who that is? Mario Cristobal. That's the edge. That's the edge right there. And that's why you feel really good about the team. Now, it's a process. And I know Canes fans, I know Dolphins fans. It's hard to tell you to be patient because you've been patient for decades now, waiting for this damn thing to turn around. You know what I'm saying? But we have to have just a little more patience for Mario. This is not the season yet. We're probably another season or two away from him having the kind of team he really needs in order to get into those playoffs. I mean, if somehow he would do it this year, it would be just absolutely crazy. Big O, I never followed college football before. I want to start getting into it. Should I follow the Hurricanes like I do the Dolphins? Well, yeah, if that's your favorite team, hell yeah. Why not? It is a good time it's a great time to get on board with the Canes. Absolutely fantastic time to get on board with the Canes. By the way, FIU is playing Texas State today. Texas State favored by 13.5. The over and under 63. FIU is plus 400. Texas State is minus 500 in the game. And also FAU at 6 p.m. taking Southeastern. FAU is favored by 11. The over and under is 62.5. FAU is minus 390. And Southeastern is plus 320. So we'll see. Hopefully the other teams locally do something. I like FIU's new coach. He's a likable dude. I really root for FIU and FAU, man. I know I'm a UM, obviously hardcore fan, born and raised here. But and my daughter and my wife, both graduates of FIU. So I root for FIU big time, and I root for FAU big time. I've had the opportunity when I was working up at 640 to work with the people at FAU, and they're just fantastic people. And they've got some great alumni here, FAU and FIU. I mean, most of us can only send our kids to places like that, not to the university. My daughter did a medical program there, but that was all scholarship. If not, there's no way I could afford it. That's for sure. Anyway, all right. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, David Wilson from the Miami Herald is going to join us. We're going to talk a little Canes with David. Big day today for the Canes. Not so much on the field. There's also stuff going on, very important stuff going on off the field. David has covered that. So we'll talk about the game. We'll talk about some of the important issues also going on off the field with David Wilson from the Miami Herald next, right here on the Miami Hurricanes pregame show on Sports Talk 305 Network.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
When you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
Hey guys, this is Hayden Hurst, NFL tight end. I'm partnering today with Red Recover. We're going to run you guys through some drills. I started using Red Recover last year, my 4th year in the NFL. It just helps me on Mondays after games, get my recovery process started, get back into the fold of the week, and get ready for the following Sunday. And if you want to recover like me, use Red Recover.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing, my friend? Thank you for taking some time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
It's good to have you, my brother. So we got the game, obviously, but I read your article this morning, and I thought it was really interesting. I'm not like the biggest guy that gets all hot and bothered with recruits, especially in today's world, even less now, because they can say they're coming, but a year later they're not. A year later, after they committed, they can then transfer. So I don't even know if the guy you recruit now you're actually going to get, and then is he actually going to stay on your team 2 or 3 years later? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of crazy. But in today's game, the recruiting is so important. Obviously, he's got to turn over that roster. There's a lot of important players coming to the game today to see and check out the Canes. Can you talk a little bit about?
Yeah, I mean, they've got most of their – it's not – they'll have bigger
presumably they'll have bigger crowds for recruits here once we get later in the season, some of the big ACC games. But they've done a good job, I think, in these first 2 weeks of the season, just getting the important local guys in the building. They haven't, obviously, a lot of the out-of-state big-time target, like, they're going after a 5-star tackle from Massachusetts. They'll wait for a big game to get him down here. But, they've had last week and, you plan for this week, a guy like Ruben Bain, who's probably the best defensive player in South Florida from Miami Central, in attendance. Christopher Johnson, who's their big running back target from Dillard High, in attendance. So a lot of the top local targets they're still going after. They've done a good job of getting them just around the program and seeing. I talked to Ruben Bain this week, and it was just Bethune-Cookman, obviously, but he was like, you can kind of feel that different energy with the new coach here. So just getting that initial impression on some of these guys of what this might look like once we get a little later in the season, I think is pretty important.
All right, David, I was able to listen to your answer because I was able to. I'm watching the live feed.
All right.
So while I went out on the internet, I was able to go to a live feed and listen to your answer at the same time. So that's good. It was only
perfect.
Me. Everybody else was listening to you, but they weren't seeing me at the moment. All right, so. Hey, listen, and this is the kind of game, David, I didn't want to blow smoke up people's butts here. This is not a game. You should be able to handle these guys pretty easy. It's one guy. I mean, 27 points last week in 4 overtimes against Liberty. That's not a potent offense you're facing today.
Yeah, it's an interesting test. Like, again, like you said, like, it should not be a close game. Southern Miss, I think, was 3-9 last. Like, they were not a good team last year. Lost in week 1 this year. Didn't really score a whole lot, but they're an interesting. Frank Gore Jr., who obviously is the star for this team. He played quarterback at the end of last year. He's 5'8". Maybe an NFL running back. He's a little small, but he's certainly got the production at his level. But it's just going to be an interest. It's like going over in Georgia Tech back in the day, right? Like maybe they'll get you a little bit, because it's such a unique way they play. They don't call it quarterback, they call it superback. If Southern Miss scores early, don't panic, but it'll be an interesting test for this defense. And especially because the run defense was okay last week. They were, they obviously got a lot of takeaways last week, but especially an athletic quarterback like Bethune-Cookman had, Jalen Jones, who was once a Florida Gator.
I like him.
Gave him some trouble. So this is another good chance to improve on some of the stuff they one of their weaknesses, I think, last week.
No doubt. And listen, in the end, the good thing about this matchup for the Canes, and you mentioned a little bit on it, you kind of touched on it. The tackling, sometimes the missed tackles. I know it was less last week, but it still wasn't satisfactory to Mario Cristobal. Well, guess what? Now you get a heavy load of running, so your guys are going to get a nice test to wrap people up and bring them to the ground, and no missed tackles and those kind of things. So for your linebackers, for your front seven, there's a lot of good work in that sense, because that's the dude you've got to stop in Frank Gore Jr.
Yeah, and in week 1, I think he was top 3 in the nation in yards after contact. So even though he's a small guy, he's that kind of compact type of running back who is a challenge to bring down.
I'm with you there. Now, the other thing I want to see in this game is, and I was a little concerned after last week, is, and we were all concerned going into the season, is wide receivers. Well, the concern kind of was raised. A very poor team you played, and outside of Restrepo, nobody else really stood out. And I think that's important also, because at Texas A&M, my brother, they're going to watch the film and they're going to say, okay, well, this Restrepo kid, we got to make sure we take him out and force everybody else to beat us, because it looks like they can't. And so to me, that's the other thing. I want to see somebody else start to step up here at wide receiver.
Yeah, especially because Texas A&M has an All-American cornerback, Antonio Johnson, who's kind of like a nickel slot type guy. So, he'll get that Restrepo assignment, presumably, for a lot of the game. I think other than Restrepo, the only wide receiver who had multiple targets from Tyler Van Dyke was Michael Redding III, and he had 2. He made a good play on a kind of Tyler's one kind of not great throw of the game to score a touchdown. I think that was in the third quarter last week. But yeah, it's got to be him. We obviously saw Keyshawn Smith, that straight line speed he has as a kick returner. He's a deep threat. We didn't see it at all last week. I'm sure they'll throw, they got to get him involved more because he's kind of got the highest upside potentially of that group. But other than that, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of slot guys, which is not the worst thing in the world in college. But yeah, they need one of those outside guys to step up.
Canes fans, you want to keep up with some of your Canes coverage there, go to the Miami Herald. Follow, of course, David at DB Wilson2 on Twitter and catch his work there at the Miami Herald, covering the Canes, covering recruiting, all of that. Jalen Knighton back today. And again, this is also a positive too, because you need to get him some touches and you need to have as many running backs as possible available next week against Texas A&M. So to me, that's the good thing about getting Jalen out there on the field today. You start getting him acclimated to getting hit again in football.
Yeah, and this team is clearly not going to be as pass heavy as they were last year, where they were outside the top 100 in the country in rushing yards per game. They're not going to average 7 or whatever they did in week 1, but if they can get back up to the top 50 in the country, like 4.5 yards per carry or something, then that'll make a big difference. And they obviously had really good receivers last year, a really good quarterback, an offense that was very quarterback passer friendly. It's going to be different this year. Getting Knighton in there and getting Zion Nelson, looks like he'll play today too. Obviously preseason All-American left tackle, didn't play in week 1. Just getting his, you don't want his first action of the year to be against Texas A&M on a defensive line loaded up with former five-star recruits like that. It's good for both of those guys to get their feet wet before they have to instead of making their debut against the top 6-7 team in the country, whatever Texas A&M is going to be next week.
Yeah. What was your assessment of the line last week in the run game?
I mean, we talked about this on our podcast that Susan Miller-Degnan and I do at the Herald, the Eye on the U podcast. Check it out on the Herald Sports feed.
Plug it, baby. Plug it.
We kind of like, our whole idea of the episode is like what we actually saw versus what we learned, because there's only so much you can actually learn from a game like that. It's hard to give like a grade on a game like that. It's really pass fail. Obviously they passed. Obviously the running game is just more complex, right? And that's no knock on Rhett Lashley, who is a really good offensive coordinator. Obviously now the coach at SMU, got the most out of Tyler Van Dyke, had record-setting wide receivers all over the field and guys who aren't even in the NFL. So he got the most out of that passing attack. But his run game is vanilla. It's all read option. It's all RPO stuff, runs up the middle. You can just see it's much more complex this year. It's been the big theme that all these linemen have harped on. I think having Jalen Rivers back is a big deal. Obviously, he missed most of last season. He's probably your most talented. He might honestly be your most talented offensive lineman, period. Certainly your most talented guard. Good size, good athleticism. So I think, I think it's very realistic to think this team could be like a top 50 run game, because that's what Josh Gaddis has done at pretty much every stop he's been at.
I mean, listen, dude, they've got to get back to that. That's how your passing game is going to be even better,
right,
when you're able to clear the middle of that field, because you've got linebackers sucking it up and worried about whatever it is, Highsmith or McGahee or Donnell Bennett or whatever.
Especially when your two best receivers are Restrepo, who's a slot guy, and Will Mallory is a tight end. Like, those guys are going to feast in the middle of the field.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You got to get back to punching people in the mouth. I mean, that's why Alabama, while they're now becoming quarterback U and all that good stuff, they still can always run the ball and punch you in the mouth. And that's all part of it, whether it's Ohio State, whether it's Clemson, all the powerhouses. They can run whenever the hell they want to run. It's not just one of those things where you got offenses that just solely rely on the pass. You've got to be able to run the ball, man. And all the top teams that are challenging for titles usually are very good at running the ball.
Yeah, and I think they have the personnel now on the offensive line to do it. Zion Nelson's obviously getting early to mid-round NFL draft buzz.
Yeah.
Jalen Rivers is, like I said, he was a huge recruit for them. Obviously, injuries held him up, but before he got hurt last year, he looked like he was going to have maybe a breakout year. DJ Scaife, who's been here forever and has had his ups and downs, graded out very well last year. I think probably maybe better suited for guards. We'll see with Nelson back if John Campbell goes to right tackle. Obviously, Ja'Kai Clark has started a ton of games now at center. Like, they've got not just experience, but guys who are big recruits who are sort of draft prospects in some of those cases. You know, it's not Alabama, it's not Ohio State, it's not Georgia yet, but that's obviously what Mario Cristobal is trying to build. And I think you can see some of the improvement already.
David, I got a buddy of mine that thinks like they can win the ACC and challenge, and I'm like, dude, you're out of your mind. And I go, at the end of the year, you're going to be pissed at Mario when it's your fault because you had unrealistic expectations. Yeah. And for me, the realistic expectations are win the Coastal, dude.
Yeah.
Win the Coastal, put yourself in the ACC championship game, and that's it. That's it. And if you happen to win it, then God bless you, dude. Then you're the coach of the year is probably what's going to end up happening. But for me, just win the Coastal. If you win the Coastal, that would be very respectable in your first year. And by the way, the last year that you can win the Coastal.
Yeah. I mean, they've won it once. Like, you got to start somewhere, right? I always say that with people, but like, you know, I know people watch that Clemson game on Monday and it was not super impressive for Clemson. We'll see if they make a quarterback change at some point. I think Cade Klubnik's awesome. And I mean, that defensive line is just like freakish. And that's where the difference is going to be with them. You know, we'll see what's going to happen next week at Texas A&M, but when you go up against those top 5, 6, 7, 8 teams, those teams that have recruited at a really, really high level for a long time, those are the positions. I mean, they win in the trenches. Obviously, offensive linemen are hard to develop, but those 5-star defensive linemen a lot of time turn into really, really good defensive linemen. So that's going to be, I think, we'll get a good sense, I think, next week of where this team stands in relation to a team like Clemson. Obviously, we'll see a couple of weeks, a month later or whatever. So, but I think, everyone's looking at next week, right? It's like you said, there's not a whole lot you can glean from these first couple of games. It's more about getting ready for week 3, I think. Exactly.
That's the way. That's how I started the show. I said, "Hey, man, look, this is great for Mario. He's got a new program. He's installing new offense, new defense.
Yeah,
you brought in a whole bunch.
You don't get a preseason in college football. These games are your
right,
preseason.
dude.
Yeah.
This is a blessing for him because." You know, I remember years past where Miami and Florida State would open up the season.
Yeah, but imagine if his first game was against Alabama, like if he had been if last year was his first year as coach, it would not have been a great situation.
No, you want those kind of games when you're a reloading team, but they're not a reloading team. Hopefully yet, hopefully down the line, Mario will get him to that point. When you're a reloading team, you can do those kind of things. But where they're at right now, this is actually a blessing for Mario to get these 2 games in before Texas A&M. There's no doubt.
Totally agree.
Yeah. All right. What are you working on the Herald throughout the afternoon so Canes fans can check you out, my friend?
You know, we'll kind of see where the game takes us. On yesterday, I wrote a story about Frank Gore Jr. coming back home to Miami and talked to Frank Jr. and Frank Sr. about kind of what that's going to mean. And, you know, Frank Jr.'s been a really cool story. He was a really good running back here in high school. Small, didn't have a whole lot of offers. It was like FAU and Southern Miss, and he's been awesome from day one. So obviously we're monitoring to see what he does today. I'll be interested to see, like I said, what Zion Nelson, how much he plays today. Jalen Knight in the same kind of way. And like I said, those wide receivers are the biggest question to me that I think we can maybe start to answer a little bit, just who the guys are. We just don't even know who the guys are.
And by the way, do you get the sense that Junior is playing with one hell of a chip on his shoulders because
he said as much? Yeah. He said it's not as much about not recruiting him. He said no one recruited him, right? It's not like no like how can you be mad at Miami when no one recruited you, right?
Right.
But he's he's definitely excited. He's cousins with Gilbert Frierson, so he said he's been talking trash all year and wants to shut him up. So
hey, it's not like players don't come out of Southern Miss, all right? You know, there's a guy that sends penis pics all over the place, and he came out of there. And I think last time I checked, didn't a great Dolphin corner who is a coach now, didn't he come out of Southern Miss?
Did, yeah.
Mr. Tan come out of Southern Miss. So, you know, FAU had themselves a nice little running back that had himself a nice little career. So, you know, guys go to the FAUs and the Southern Misses of the world, and they could go on to have a nice NFL career. So, you know, he's all heart, man. You got to love him. Yeah. All right, David, thank you, my brother. Follow him on Twitter at DBWilson2 and catch his work there at the Miami Herald like I and many others do. David, thank you for taking some time, my friend. Enjoy the game.
course. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. My pleasure. There you go. David Wilson, baby, of the Miami Herald, getting us ready for a little Southern Miss and Miami. This should be a rout, man. This should be, remember, here's the thing. The Canes should be better this week than they were last week. Okay, not only are you playing two easy opponents, but you as a football team, well, now you're getting Zion back and you're getting the Rooster back. So you're definitely better just by talent alone. You're back. You're better, right? But you should be better because now you've got a game under your belt in the new system. You should feel a little bit more comfortable now. You should feel a little bit more confident now. And you should make less mistakes today against this kind of an opponent. And you better try to make less mistakes against an opponent like this. Why do I say that? Because you got one hell of an opponent coming up next week on the road, hostile situation. We'll get you ready for it right here 2 hours prior to kickoff, man. I cannot wait for that one. That's going to be a lot of fun next week because it almost feels like that's when the season starts next week. Manny J. Snow, thank you, my brother, for the love on the super chat. Says, looking forward for a Canes and Dolphins weekend sweep. Amen to that, man. Amen to that. Joseph Castillo says, Restrepo will be scoring. I hope so. I think Southern Miss needs a Lenny locksmith to lock them out of their home. There you go. Razzle Dazzle Crypto is in. Jason Myers says, Frank Gore Jr. is on Southern Miss. Oh, thanks, Jason. We had no idea. That's fantastic. Shabbat Shalom, Orlando. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it. Let's see. Bass in the today. What is that? I don't know what that means. Bass in the day today or whatever we need to see this kid play. I don't know what that means. Manuel, you're going to have to spell out something that you misspelled there or you're confusing the crap out of me. Gore will throw for a TD today. Bank on it. DJ Ivy will be in coverage. Is that a shot at DJ Ivy? Frank Gore Jr. was like 1 of 4 last week. So he wasn't really a great quarterback either last week. The kid did everything. Poor kid. He's by himself on that team. Like there's nothing else on that team. Don't let anybody else kid you. The Canes should shut these guys down. I mean, ugly in this game. It shouldn't even be close. Well, that's why in our Lenny lockdown segment, we went with Miami minus 26.5 and the over 51. Oh, Wesley Bassaneth, our freshman linebacker. I got you now. All right. You're like messing with me here, bro. You're throwing me a curve there. I'm like, is this like one word all tied up together and all that good stuff? Or is it like 3 words and that kind of stuff? And you're right. The linebackers need to get in there, bro. They need to start becoming studs. And that's what we got to find out. Corey Flagg, Keontra Smith, Caleb Johnson, all these kind of cats. I'm looking at all these names here. Chase Smith, by the way. Wesley. The Kelly kid who's a freshman. I mean, you look at the linebackers and you got a sophomore, a senior, and a junior. So you got some experience, but there's not enough stars there. And you think about the history of linebacker at the University of Miami and what you got to live up to, from the Ray Lewises and God, now I'm forgetting. I'm picturing his face as a defensive coordinator for Seattle, and now I'm blanking on his name. You know what I mean? It's just like that. Well, George Myra. You start to talk about the linebackers and the history of linebackers at the U, and you got a lot to live up to. And you're like, well, Michael Barrow, by the way, is the guy that I was thinking of. And so it's just one of those things that you gotta come on, man. You got to bring it back where you've got nasty ass linebackers playing there, where a Tiger Clark can come off the bench and shine, that kind of stuff. That's what you need on this team. Let's hope so, man. Rohan, huh? Yeah. Little Rohan. I love it. Maurice Crumb Crusher. There's not even a Maurice Crumb Crusher on this team. And the Fly, which was Rohan Marley, right? Wasn't he the Fly? I think that was like his nickname. There's not even any of those kind of guys on this team right now. That's what they need to get to. Anyway, so we'll get you ready for Canes and Southern Miss at noon. At the top of the hour, we are going to talk to Scott Watkins. He covers Southern Miss for the Sun Herald, so we'll get his thoughts on this game leading into the noon matchup. Mike McCoy should be joining us here at the top of the hour, so we'll have a little fun, and we'll get his thoughts on everything going on. And Mike, by the way, will be back on Tuesday at 8 o'clock with our Miami Hurricanes Watch, which we have a Cane show every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. for those of you that don't know. And the following week, we are adding another show from 7 to 8. So on Tuesday nights, this Tuesday night, it'll just be Mike and obviously the Hurricane Watch, and he'll have guests and all kinds of stuff and former players. But from 7 to 8, the following week on the 20th, we're going to have Manny Navarro. We're going to have Ira Schofel covering the Seminoles, and we're going to have Kevin Brockway, who covers the Gators. 3 beat writers for the top 3 schools in the state. And we're going to go around the state, a little round table action with insiders that cover the team. So on Tuesday nights from 7 to 9, you're going to have two hours of hardcore college football talk. I'll host the show from 7 to 8, and obviously Mike McCoy will be doing his thing from 8 to 9 also here on the program. So and tomorrow we'll be back for pre- and post-game show for the Miami Dolphins. So we'll continue to get you ready for a little more football action. I know the UCF fans are going, well, how come you didn't put a UCF beat writer in there? Now, you guys had your chance. Didn't you win your national title a couple of years ago? Didn't they lose to Louisville last night, 20-14? Damn, another national title slipped right through their fingers with the loss last night. By the way, a look around the ACC, Wake Forest and Vanderbilt at noon. And in that game, Vanderbilt is 2-0, by the way, but they beat Hawaii and Elon. I guess for Vanderbilt, that's still an accomplishment. Anyways, Wake Forest, number 23 in the country. They are favored by 13.5 points. The over and under is 65. Wake Forest minus 460. Vanderbilt plus 370 in that one. And I don't know. I don't even know to touch that game. 13.5 points on the road. Anyway, Charleston Southern is at number 18, NC State. NC State is minus 45 points in this one. They are favored by 45. The over and under is 54.5. So they don't expect Charleston Southern to score a lot of points. That's at 12:30, by the way. Noon, Duke and Northwestern, both are 1-0. Northwestern is favored by 10. The over and under is 57. Duke is plus 310 in the money line, and Northwestern minus 380 in the money line. 10 points is a lot to lay. Kind of like Northwestern this game, but still. Noon, also UNC and Georgia State. UNC is 2-0. They are favored by 7. And the over and under 64.5, minus 255 on the money line for UNC and plus 215 for Georgia State. At 3:30, number 24 Tennessee and number 17 Pitt take on each other. Both are undefeated right now. And Pitt I'm sorry, Tennessee is favored by 5.5. The over and under is 64.5. And Tennessee is minus 210. And Pitt is plus 180. Georgia Tech and Western Carolina at 7 o'clock. Georgia Tech, by the way, favored by 25. The over and under is 58.5. At 8 o'clock, Va Tech is favored by 2.5 over BC. And BC and the over and under is 46.5. BC is plus 130 in the money line. Va Tech minus 150. Va Tech has fallen hard, bro. 4 o'clock, Virginia and Illinois. Virginia's undefeated. Illinois is 1-1. They are favored by 4. Virginia over and under with Illinois is 57. Virginia's plus 155 in the money line, and Illinois is minus 180. And Clemson has a bye week. They're taking on Furman. They are favored by 44, and the over and under is 51.5. You got to love when you're favored by 44 and the over and under is just 7.5 points more. That's like Furman, you'll be lucky to score 3 points, pretty much. So that's the look around the ACC. And Louisville beating UCF yesterday, 20-14. Again, I feel bad for the folks at UCF because that's another shot at a national title is gone for you, man. That's a real shame, unfortunately. Now that you lose that game, no shot at another national title that you guys can give yourselves, which is always impressive. All right, 1 hour down. We got one more to go. We start hour number 2. Mike McCoy will join us. Scott Watkins will also join us from the Sun Herald. So we'll talk to the Southern Miss writer when we start hour number 2 of the Miami Hurricane pregame show on the Sports Talk 305 network.
When you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines. If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website.
The warning flag is up. It's time to get ready for Miami Hurricanes football. The Miami Hurricanes pregame show on the Sports Talk 305 network. The show is mastered by Sean Stanley and Chad Shobe. Here's your hosts, Orlando Alzugari and Mike McCoy.
All right, we are ready, baby. Hour number 2 of the program as we get you ready for a little UM and a little Southern Miss. And right now, Mike McCoy, my co-host, is in with us. Scott Watkins who covers Southern Miss for the Sun Herald. Follow him on Twitter, by the way, at Scott Watkins TV. Scott, good morning, my brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me.
It is our pleasure, man. All right, so tell us a little bit about this Southern Miss team, because when I'm looking at it, or when most of us are looking at it, we're thinking, is it just a Frank Gore Jr. show, or is there more to this team coming off the loss to Liberty? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, when you're on offense, when Southern Miss is on offense, that's pretty much it. Especially right now with the quarterback issues that the team is facing, with the starter Ty Keys not playing this week, and the backups, according to Will Hall, the head coach, simply not being ready for Division I football. It's going to be a lot of Frank Gore Jr. It's going to be a whole lot of Frank Gore Jr. He is not the show on the team because the defense has been known since last year to be very, very good, and they are a very fun group to watch. They're very deep at the linebacker group. They have an extremely good secondary. The defense kind of steals the show, but Frank Gore Jr. is absolutely the biggest name on this team.
Mike?
Thanks for joining us, Scott. So my biggest question would be actually, everybody knows about the progress, and I say progress because it was an early season struggle last year, Miami pass blocking and run blocking all across the board. So with Southern Miss's aggressive style of play, is there anything that they kind of have been seeing defensively that they can get at Miami? Because I know they blitz 50% of the time pretty much. So is there anything that they've been kind of talking about defensively with their aggressiveness?
I mean, I don't know what the game plan is, but I don't think that they're going to stray from what they do, which is get after the quarterback, make him uncomfortable, and take away the pass game. As I've said before somewhere else, they kind of, Austin Armstrong, the defensive coordinator, youngest DC in the country, kind of reverse engineers the process a little bit. Instead of shut down the run, they shut down the pass, and then they key in on the run. And that's kind of how they shut things down, and they caused a lot of havoc. They had a 17% havoc rate last week, which would have been 100 percentile in football last year. So it's what they do. I mean, they cause panic in the backfield, and they'll give up some big runs, I think, here and there. But I think they're fine with that, because when the field gets really short, it's tough to score on them.
Is it a defense that takes chances? Is that what you're expecting against the Tyler Van Dyke?
I think he froze up.
I think Scott froze there. Scott froze, eyes closed and froze.
I mean, I would expect them to be aggressive in nature because, like I said, they're blitzing 50% of the time.
Well, they have no choice. They have to take chances. They have no choice. They have got to. This is a team that's going to try trick plays. They're going to try all kinds of funky shit today.
Yeah,
because they have to try anything and everything. They can't stand their mano a mano. And you just heard Scott talk about their quarterback situation. I think we got Scott back now. Scott, let's go back to the question. So are we expecting an aggressive bunch that is going to take some chances? Because I'm figuring you can't stand there mano a mano, so you're going to have to try all kinds of stuff to try to create some kind of an advantage for yourself.
Yeah, I don't think that Miami is going to be treated any differently by Southern Miss. I think they're going to, get after it. They're going to, as you said, they'll take risks. They'll take their chances. They did it against Liberty. They did it last year. Doesn't really matter. They got after Bryce Young in Alabama last year. I know the score was pretty rough, but they got aggressive against Alabama, and they'll do the same thing here. I think they feel like that's their strong suit. They probably feel like that's their advantage in this game, is to do what they do best. There's no reason to back down on that just because you're facing Miami.
Is there any type of Scott, is there any type of offense that we should see differently if they decide, not if they decide, but if they fall behind and they start falling behind early, let's say, I don't know, before the second half ends? Because I know typically, you start falling behind, you have to kind of change your game plan and maybe start throwing the ball more. And I know they have quarterback issues at the moment. However, is that something that they may try, even though they have quarterback issues, if they fall behind, throwing the ball more?
We're going to find out. I mean, the quarterback that they're throwing out there, he has not played a single snap of Division I football. Played high school football just last year. He had his ups and downs in practice. He looks really good in practice. I'll tell you that. He's a very polished quarterback for just coming out of high school, but again, no experience whatsoever. And, having your first game on the road at a Power 5 team, that's being thrown into the fire a little bit. they don't want to fall behind early. I think
Right.
you're going to see a lot of running. I think you're going to see a lot of super back, and you're going to see a lot of strong defense. You're going to see them fight to keep themselves in the game in the second half in order to open themselves up slowly with the pass game. If they fall behind, in my opinion, it could get rough because this team is just not built right now to play from behind.
Scott, I read up about this super back stuff.
Yep.
Can you explain to everybody what you mean by super back? Because you say that, and we've kind of read up on it, but the average person probably goes super back. What do they have? Some guy that's like 8 foot tall back there or something? Tell them what the super back.
Yeah, so the super back is Southern Miss's version of the Wildcat formation. They went to it last year because they ran out of quarterbacks. They went to it in the third to last game. It was the very first time I've ever seen a depth chart that did not include a quarterback. They played Frank Gore Jr. at quarterback. They mixed in a few other athletes, and they almost beat an undefeated UTSA team. Then they won their last 2 games of the season using it. And unfortunately, they had to turn to it again last week after the starter went down, and they used it the entire second half. And honestly, perhaps even more unfortunately, the offense looked so much better when they were in the super back formation than when the quarterback was out there. So that is what's going to happen. They're going to put Frank Gore Jr. at quarterback. They're also going to use 2 other guys at that position as well, and they're just going to run the ball. Frank Gore Jr. is also a good passer, surprisingly, and I don't mean like little pop passes either. This guy throws 40-yard bombs to Jason Brownlee, the top target on his team. So they're going to throw the ball with him as well.
That's awesome, Mike. What you got?
Nothing. I'm just curious to see like how they respond because 244 yards on 48 carries. We all know that the game went into 4 overtimes last week against Liberty, but sometimes teams have that week to week momentum, and riding the confidence behind Frank Gore, because you got to know that he's hyped. I'm sure Dad's going to probably be somewhere in the crowd. Wonder what jersey he's going to be sporting, maybe a half and half. Who knows how that's going to work? But
blood sticker, bro. Blood sticker. He'll be wearing Southern Miss.
They got to be riding his emotional wave. He's got to be sky high right now. So, and look, that counts in college football. I don't care what the line is, what the odds makers say. When a team's in it in a game that they probably shouldn't be in it late in the game, that matters. And Scott, I have some good news for you. Miami I know it's a different year. I know it's 2022. I know it's a different staff, different defense, but Miami has been known to make quarterbacks that probably aren't supposed to shine look like Heisman contenders sometimes. So that's something that I can say that Miami fans will be looking into deeply.
And Frank will be motivated for this one.
Oh, yeah.
Scott, if they're willing to do the super back, so are we talking about a coach that's going to try all kinds of other funky stuff? Even some, what's it called, fake punt or onside or all kinds of stuff. Are we looking at those kind of trickery plays because of the opponent that they're facing today?
Maybe. I know I've always been a big proponent of not doing that in these situations. I know that Southern Miss has a long history of taking down these kind of programs, and I went to Troy University, same exact thing, and they beat schools just running the football. And Troy didn't do anything tricky when they beat Nebraska or LSU. They just ran football.
Right.
I think Southern Miss needs to do the same thing. They may come out with something new, a new wrinkle, but Southern Miss, they've got a much improved offensive line. They've got a super back formation that works really well. I don't think they're going to move away from that. Maybe if they get desperate towards the end, I'm not sure. But me personally, I hope they don't. I hope they do not try anything tricky.
I'm with you. They shouldn't try anything tricky because that's how you really get yourself in trouble and you end up burying yourself, and you're better off sticking to the super back and the things that you do and on defense and do the things that you play to your strengths, because that gives you a chance. And when I was thinking about the super back stuff that you were talking about, Scott, is it also that they're better off that way because it kind of simplifies things for them? Because it doesn't seem like it's as complicated as it would be to running an entire offense.
Yeah, no, it is definitely very simple. I mean, it's a few plays. There might be 10 total plays in that playbook as far as the super back goes. But also the reason it works so much better is because, the starter is a redshirt freshman who didn't have spring before last year. He didn't have summer before last year. He took over after the starter got hurt in week 2, I think. played for a game and a half, and then he got hurt. So he has almost no experience coming in, and didn't even get a full half into the season this year before getting hurt again. So it's more of they just don't have anything at quarterback, and they're in a really bad spot. They kind of whiffed in the transfer portal. I know they were going after. They wanted the veteran quarterback in the room, couldn't land anybody, and so that's kind of the situation they're in. I mean, I don't think the simplified playbook may help, but also going with the quarterback is really tough right now because none of them have really any experience.
Miami is, they've been in the ACC since like 2004. They've had to deal with a Paul Johnson, obviously not there anymore. A Paul Johnson triple option, wishbone, whatever you want to call it, for years. And one thing that sticks out about that is, you get chunk plays at first 5 yards or maybe even 6 yards. Southern Miss's best defense may be their offense, keeping Miami's offense off the field, moving the ball, matriculating it down the field. Because the last thing you want to do is throwing out that defense is out there and in this weather. So that's like O was saying, stick to what they've been doing and stick to what can work, because that's going to be, I think, the best way to win the game for Southern Miss is to keep that Miami offense off the field and keep it a running clock or keep the clock going as much as you can, because I think it's just going to favor them with the type of offense that they run. And then Miami having to key in on their keys and everything like that. We're going to see how disciplined and how assignment ready Miami is for this offense, because that's one thing that it's going to make you do. It's going to make you have to be patient and play your lanes. I know that for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what killed Southern Miss last year, is the bad offense, being on the field for short periods of time, the turnovers, and then that really hurt the defense, because the defense statistically didn't look amazing, but the underlying numbers were fantastic. You could tell that when put in a good situation, they did well, and that was the case against Liberty. Whenever they had a long field behind them, they shut Liberty down. We wouldn't be having this weird Southern Miss conversation after the Liberty game if it wasn't for the fact that the offense fumbled the ball inside the 5-yard line twice and once at the goal line. Southern Miss probably should have won by 2 scores, 2 or 3 scores, really, because Liberty capitalized a couple times. It's just little mistakes that the offense has been making since last year that has really put this team behind. Today is a really good opportunity to clean those up and see what kind of football Southern Miss can play under Will Hall with an efficient offense that takes care of the football.
All right, good stuff. Scott Watkins covers Southern Miss for the Sun Herald. You can follow him on Twitter at Scott Watkins TV. All right, we'll wrap it up with this here, Scott. Let's go over the line. Right now, Miami is favored by 26.5. What would you tell those folks that are making sports investments?
I would tell them not to listen to me, but if I had to guess, I do think Southern Miss covers, because I do think highly of the Southern Miss defense, and I think that if they can just move the football at all, especially in the first half, they'll. I don't think they'll win, but I think it'll be respectable. My guess all week has been somewhere in the 31 to 14 range.
Okay, over and under 51.
What was that? 30 to 14? Is that that's under, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I think I'll go under. I think this game, if Southern Miss plays it the way they want, I think it'll be really slow. Scoring will be, every 8 or 9 minutes here.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Follow him on Twitter at Scott Watkins TV and catch his work there at the Sun Herald. Scott, thank you for taking some time, my brother. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me.
You got it. There you go. Scott Watkins from the Sun Herald covering Southern Miss. All right, let's take a quick break. Give us 2 minutes. Back with more right here on the Miami Hurricanes pregame show on the Sports Talk 305 network.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Why is it that you get locked out in the worst moments of your life?
Where are my car keys? Man, I can't find my house keys.
In those frustrating moments, you need a locksmith you can count on. A. Lenny Locksmiths in South Florida, from Miami to Port St. Lucie. In Central Florida, A. Lenny locks it down in Orlando and Tampa Bay. Lockouts or lock changes for home or business. Car key replacements and programming all model cars. 24-hour service. Call them at 855-869-5625. Go to the website at alennylocksmith.com.
Red Recover now offers a simple-to-use, professional-grade light therapy device designed to help your dog heal and live a healthier life. Red Recover emits red and infrared light therapy based on the same science that NASA developed, all in a soft, flexible housing pad powered by a convenient, rechargeable lithium-ion battery. Say yes to science and give your dog the care it deserves with Red Recover.
All right, we back here at the Miami Hurricanes pregame show on the Sports Talk 305 network. Don't forget, on Tuesday nights, my man Mike McCoy hosts the Hurricanes Watch, the Miami Hurricane Watch, from 8 to 9 p.m. And this will be the last week that he does solo, because the following week on the 20th, there'll be two shows. There'll be a lead-in also from 7 to 8. We're going to have a college football roundtable with Manny Navarro from The Athletic. We're going to have Ira Schofel from War Chant and Kevin Brockaway from the Gainesville Sun. 3 of the beat writers are in the locker rooms covering the teams, talking to the players and the coaches. And so it'll be a nice Florida roundtable here to talk about all the main teams. And then Mike McCoy will close the night off with a 1 hour of hardcore Canes talk. Lance Leggett, I believe, is going to join you this week, right, on the show?
Correct.
All right, so we'll have that and other guests also during that time. So always check it out Tuesdays. And, of course, all you got to do is hit the notification bell here on the platform, and then you'll know right when we're on. Subscribe, and you can chat and exchange and all kinds of good stuff there. So make sure you check it out. Tomorrow we'll be back with our pre- and post-game show to cover the Miami Dolphins and get you ready for the New England Patriots. You know, hopefully next week this show will be on the road. We'll see, man. You never know if we can get this thing done and get this show on the road. So we hopefully will be on the road at some point or another. Manny Navarro will join us in the post-game show. He'll join us right after the game ends. Our post-game show will begin immediately as the game ends. And we go for 2 hours once the game ends. We'll have Manny on. We'll get Mario's press conference. We'll get any of the other sound that we can possibly get for you. And obviously, we'll get the reaction from Mike and myself on the contest. All right, Mike, for today's game, when you're looking at this Southern Miss offense, what are you looking at? What do they need to do? Just stop Frank Gore Jr.? Is it that simple?
You talk about what the Miami defense needs to do to stop Southern Miss's offense.
Yes, sir.
Well, yeah, I mean, we heard what Scott said. They are unfortunately depleted at quarterback. And, you know, the thing that not just me, you and all other Canes fans were looking to see an improvement on was a pass rush that seemed to be non-existent last week versus Bethune at home. Miami doesn't seem like they're going to get a chance to do that. If you look at the box score of last week's game versus Liberty that Southern Miss had, they only attempted 13 passes, and Frank Gore attempted 4 of those 13. So, you know, with that being the case offensively, Miami seems to have their job cut in half. You know, we know that Gore plays that super back. We know that he's going to be hyped. But to answer your question, yes, I do think that it's going to be as simple as that. However, you can't take any school for granted, any team for granted. Like I said, like we were talking about with Scott in the last segment, Frank Gore Jr. is going to be hyped. And when your leader is hyped, you tend to feed off that energy. So these boys are going to come in. They know they're not supposed to, be on the field with Miami and everybody. There's the world against them. You look at the line and everything. But that's when you play to your best. You say F it, you throw the kitchen sink at them, and who knows? You come out of the halftime and it's a two-score game. Miami's up by 10, only 2 touchdowns, let's say. Things start to change. Things start to get in your head and start to believe. So Miami, in my opinion, they're going to want to get in, get out early, show what they can. They're going to want to preserve, the guys for a big week next week at Texas A&M, but they're also going to want to show that okay, we put enough on film to put I'm sorry, I keep saying Ole Miss, to put Texas A&M on notice because the last thing you want to do is limp into next weekend.
You're right. By the way, Adam Lichtenstein is reporting that Ja'Kai Clark has gone through all the warm-ups after missing a little bit of the game last week with an injury. Jalen Knighton has also, in full uniform, gone through all the workouts, and so has Zion Nelson also going through the workouts. So as expected that these guys would return, and obviously it's really important to get the playing time this week for those guys going into Texas A&M next week. You don't want that to be, we had David Wilson on in the first hour, Kane's beat writer for the Herald. And we were talking about that, how it's really important to get these guys back from injury and get them in this game before you get to Texas A&M.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go in, cold turkey with no snaps. This is going to be another SEC big-time season opener for Ja'Kai Clark. His very first one was his first game of his career against Florida, up in Orlando in 2019. So this may be his last go-round, you know what I'm saying? And he's going to need reps. He had a scope in the offseason, and I guess it was a little closer to fall. I don't exactly know when it was, but obviously it was close enough to fall camp where he had to take some time off, and that's fine. But it's good to see that he's gone through the warm-ups. Jalen Knighton had a little hamstring a couple weeks leading up to, or the week of, I think, leading up to Bethune, which is why he didn't play last week. No need to play him, and we saw why. But I wanted to talk about Big O, the defense, because if we're looking to find, I don't want to say an equal, but somebody that means as much to the defense as Gore means to Southern Miss's offense, it'll be Malik Shorts. Now get this, he's only a 6 foot, 202-pound linebacker. Yes, he's a linebacker, 202 pounds, played running back in high school, but he was recognized by Phil Steele. Anybody that knows anything about college football knows that Phil Steele, that magazine, is like the Bible before college football season starts. Get this, last season in his redshirt sophomore campaign, he was a finalist for the Connerly Trophy. This is the first time I'm hearing about what that trophy is. It's given to the best collegiate football player in the state of Mississippi. That says a lot, considering that you have Ole Miss being coached by Lane Kiffin and, that offense, and we all know what their offense looked like last year. For him being a finalist for that trophy in the state of Mississippi, look out for number 9 in Southern Miss black and gold today, because I want to see what he's about. Undersized, like I said, at 202 at linebacker, and he's going to have to face
linebacker. Is he really a DB?
They have him listed here at linebacker, I see.
Really?
Let me see.
I thought he was a DB. He had 12 tackles last week, 11 solo.
All right.
He was their leading tackler last week.
Yeah, he was their leading tackler. I thought it said linebacker. You might be right. I'm going to have to go back and check. Does it say
he's a DB?
Oh, he's a DB. Okay. Well, that makes me feel a lot better. That makes me feel a lot better for him.
Leads your team in tackling. That's bad.
No, it's bad. It's bad. But thanks for correcting me on that, because if he was,
that means you're getting to the second and third levels of the defense on a consistent basis, and those tackles are 7, 8, 9 yards downfield, and so it's impressive for him, but it's depressing for the defense overall. So for me, that to me becomes a positive for the Canes. You know what I mean?
Right. Let me ask you something about what Miami, what you would, let me ask you if you would do what you would do, how you would handle the offense if you're in Miami. You're probably going to be able to move the ball at will. And remember the whole thing when Chip Kelly was running that Oregon offense, it's like, yeah, he's scoring in 60 to 90 seconds. That's great. But that defense, like they need a blow.
Right.
So how would you handle things if you were Miami? Would you want to get them in and out and get the second team and third team in as many reps as possible? Or
Yes.
are you going to want to prolong the drive so you can keep the defense fresh?
Oh, I'm just gonna play the game, and I'm gonna try to play the game as effective as possible, and I'm gonna try to score as many points as I can as possible.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to play a really good game, and if it's there to throw it, I throw it, and if it's there to run it, I run it.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that Van Dyke and the boys are on the bench by the early third quarter. To
Because
be
I'm
quite honest, I'd like to see
100%.
I'd like to see Jake Garcia and company out there immediately in that third quarter. You know what I mean? I'd like for them now. According to Scott Watkins, he thinks that defense will do enough to kind of make
Mm-hmm.
this thing interesting. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I just, with Zion coming back and getting Jalen back and watching you put up 70 last
Yeah.
week. Dude, they scored 27 points in 4 overtimes against Liberty.
I get it. At
I'm
home.
sorry, dude. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have a lot of I don't have as much hope as I'm laying the 26. I already laid the 26 and a half, and I went with the over 51 on this one.
Okay.
Miami
Okay.
should be over 51 by themselves in this game.
Let me tell you what I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with because I agree. I want, half of me says I want these guys chilling on the bench by the time the second half comes out. But the other thing is I want them to get some reps. I don't want them to, because you know how sometimes you underplay your,
So there's a
say it's
catch
NFL.
22. There's a catch 22 to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Injuries.
say, that's what I'm
No,
saying. Yes.
injury.
Yes. Yeah. You're right. That's what I'm saying. Like, do you want to risk the injury? Do you want them to get enough reps to look good and fresh and ready and like get live action for ATM on the road next week?
Well, here, this is the way I look at it, Mike. If you play clean football and you're scoring and you're handling your business, then you did your job. Sit the hell
Yeah.
down. You got
Yeah.
nothing else
Yeah.
to
You're right.
prove. I don't need you to do it for 4 quarters. Now, if you're playing sloppy football and you're committing penalties and
Mm-hmm.
you're not, then we're keeping your ass on the field
Yeah. You
because
have to.
obviously you need the work for
You
Texas
have to.
A&M. But if you're executing and you're missing less tackles and you're playing on a professional level like you were last
Mm-hmm.
week. Overall
Mm-hmm.
it was just a much better game
Yes.
overall. I saw them act like professionals.
Yep. They
Even when
seem
they got a
organized.
little bit out of line, Mario went over and said, "Hey, cut the shit, okay?" And so he kind of ended that like right away, like, no, that clowning and that buffoonery
Yeah.
stuff that is
Yeah.
over here, okay? And so I saw a team and they missed. He wasn't even happy with the amount of tackles they missed,
Right.
but they still missed
11.
less than before. That's what I like about today's game because you're facing a really good running back.
Mm-hmm.
That's test your tackling.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that for these linebackers. They need to get tested and they
No, they do.
need to prove that they can wrap up good running backs because the following week they're going to need it against Texas A&M.
100%. And for all the heat that Flag took last week, because he did take some heat, he looked like he was kind of running in mud
Well,
for a few plays there, but he was one of the defensive players of the game
yeah,
last week.
yeah.
So I think as a team, if I'm not mistaken, I read an article on 247. They had like a little preview. I think somewhere in the article, if I read it correct, if my memory serves it right, I'm looking for my notes. We missed 11 tackles as a team last weekend.
Yeah, 10 or 11, I think it was.
10 or 11,
Yeah.
something like that. So I'm wondering, because what has been the whole issue with Miami fans and previous coaching regimes here?
Sloppiness,
That's
bro.
sloppiness. And when
Yes.
something wasn't working, there were no adjustments. So I'm wondering if we're going to see some personnel moves, in certain packages, a little bit more speed on the field at linebacker, maybe some Saints, maybe some Chase Smith. These guys have been making noise in the fall, so I want to see the youth out there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100% there. No doubt. Hopefully they'll be able to do that. All right. When we start talking about Jalen Knighton back,
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge positive to get ready for Texas A&M. You add an extra back to that group going into Texas A&M. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to get Jalen out there, get the rooster out on the floor or out on the field today.
Not just an extra back, a speedy back, a versatile back, somebody that can catch the ball out of the backfield. If you want to get crazy with it, you can line them up in the slot, maybe get some jet sweeps. Who knows if they have this version of a super back where we're going to see some direct snaps. We haven't seen that from a Miami offense in a while, but a versatile guy, a smart guy, and we saw how much the offense changed. You saw it with your own eyes. Oh, when he was back last season after, I believe he was suspended the first couple games, and I want to say his first game of the season last year was against Virginia, or maybe it was UNC. But the offense changed immediately. His speed meant so much to the Miami offense that it was definitely part of the reason where Miami had a late season surge. So yes, it's going to be huge. However, you do not, just because he's back, you don't want to forget the performance that the other backs had last week, namely Henry Parrish. He looked really good. I know you liked how he looked last week. Yeah, he looked good. So back in the day, I know it's 2022, but back in the day, they were saying that you don't lose your spot to injury and stuff like that, but you just can't forget about number 21, the homegrown product.
But you also can't say you earned it against,
True.
Sorry, Bethune-Cookman. That's not
true.
really. It's great that he looked fantastic, and I'm happy for him. He's a Miami kid. He's from Goulds and everything,
Right.
so I like it. So I root for those kind of kids. But you're playing Bethune-Cookman. You're supposed to,
That's
100%. Next week against Texas A&M, if he's the best back out of the group, then maybe now you start to separate yourself a little bit more. But I don't think there's any separation in games against Bethune-Cookman and Southern Miss.
No,
separations come in the ACC games or in the out-of-conference games like the one coming up next week against Texas A&M. That's where I give you okay, that respect now. You're really getting it done. So I love what Parrish did. Don't get me wrong, but I can't just anoint you because you were great against Bethune-Cookman.
Fair. No, that's fair. I got a question for you. I wanted to ask you a question, kind of get your thoughts on something. So I'm going to ask you a couple over-unders because I was thinking about it last night, getting some prep in, and I was wondering. So last week, Tyler throws for 16. I'm sorry, he threw the ball 16 times. You think he's throwing more than 16 times today?
Right around there. I think it's the 15 to 20 mark. So, God. I'll go over because they're an aggressive team. So I think
they're going to take what the defense gives them.
Yeah, I think he'll take some chances, and I think he'll burn them at times with some of their aggressiveness. So I'm going to go slightly over 16 if I have to go that way. Yeah.
Okay. Miami's rushing attack. So as a team, Miami ran for last week 305 yards. They represented the city well, 305. You're going over or under on that, Mark?
Under. I'll give Southern Miss way more respect in that sense over Bethune. So I don't think you'll get to the 300 mark, but you'll be in the 200s at least. So that'll be good overall because you'll make up for it in the passing department.
Okay. Miami had one receiver over 50 yards last week, and now Xavier Restrepo had five receptions, hit 100 on the button last year in terms of receiving yards. With a touch, his long went for 52. Is Miami going over or under in terms of receivers over the 50-yard receiving?
I'll go over. I'll go over because I think Restrepo will have less because the defense will focus more on him now that they saw the tape. And then that'll force other guys to catch the ball. So I think you'll have at least two guys over 50.
Okay.
When it's all said and done.
And then last one. This is a big one. We didn't punt the ball at all last week. 0. Over or under?
Yeah, you'll punt it. You'll punt it today. You'll punt it this week at least once or twice. Yes, you'll punt it for sure. This defense will do some things that every once in a while they'll mess them up for a couple times in the game. They'll still get routed and all that, but they'll force them into at least a punt or two. Yeah, I'll give Southern Miss at least a punt or two. Yeah.
So thanks for that heads up, Ken. I'm not sure where he saw the report from, but I don't think he's making it up. Akeem Mesidor is out for today's game. That's a breaking Breaking news there.
Let's see if I'll look it up here to make sure that that's the case. If that's reported,
yeah, I'm trying to find it right now.
It's reported.
It's reported.
Manny Navarro, Elijah Roberts taking first team snaps at defensive end, 11 on 11 with Akeem Mesidor out.
Yep, there it is. I saw it with Manny Navarro.
And
Manny will join us.
Getting second team reps. Zion Nelson's getting second team reps at left tackle. Seems like a good way to ease him back in.
Right, exactly. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what you're going to do with a guy like that. You bring him back slowly and get him some playing. He'll get playing time today, but maybe not to start. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's good. You got to get your All-American in there, bro.
So a couple, years ago, for a long time, Miami had depth issues across the board. So, all right, what happens when we have a guy in Akeem Mesidor going down today? Okay, who's gonna go take more snaps? Definitely have depth. We definitely have interchangeable parts along that line. We just saw Elijah Roberts, who's a stud, by the way, from Columbus, homegrown product, Miami Columbus, same school, Mario Cristobal and a bunch of other Canes, Ryan Rodriguez, backup center. The guy can play inside and outside. His parents are beautiful people. Hung out with them last week at the tailgate. And this is a physical kid who's gotten bigger and stronger over the offseason, came in with underrated hype, but anybody that follows high school football in the area knows that this kid was a serious get. And I like him because he's physical, he's heavy-handed, and I'm going to see how he plays. I want to see how they use him, if he's inside and outside, because he could be both. And so Miami's versatility is huge, man, along that defensive line. There's so many types of mixes and matches that defensive coordinator Kevin Steele can throw at you. Miami can come from all over the place.
And listen, that's Mario's job now. From here on out is build a football team, and part of that is not just having great starters, but building the depth. We were talking about this earlier on the pregame show, where Miami is, you don't want to play the big game at the beginning of the year against Alabama, Michigan, Florida State, Ohio State, because you're not ready yet for that kind of stuff. There's a new staff, new system. Players are acclimating themselves. So the biggest bonus has been these two games. It's a preseason for them. It allows them to get, when they get to that point that they have the depth that we're talking about, then you can play a big game to open up the year, because the following year you're just reloading. You're not all of a sudden rebuilding the damn program. And that's kind of what Mario's doing now. He's rebuilding from scratch, dude. He's trying to figure out who he has, who fits, who doesn't, and all that good stuff. At the end of the year, he's going to have to tell a bunch of kids, hey, you really aren't going to play much from here on out. So you may want to transfer, that kind of stuff. And that's all part of this process. And he's got to build that depth to get to that point where you're like Clemson and you're like Alabama, that you reload. That's what Miami used to be 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 35 years ago. They were the reloading team. They got to get back to that.
During the or before the spring, after the spring, whenever it was that you hit the portal, I think like right after the spring game, Miami, there was a mass exodus. I want to say between 13 and 16. It was one of those two numbers. They stick out in my head, but that's how many guys hit the portal for Miami. It was between 13 and 16 guys. So that happened before the season started. There was a recent transfer in, not Malik Curtis, I forget the quarterback that transferred to the cornerback that transferred to Missouri. If Chad can help us, I can't remember the name. Just recently, started a couple games last week.
I know who you're talking about, and I'm blanking on the damn name. I know exactly.
But there was another one, and so we'll see how many. Like to your point, is what I'm trying to get at. We'll see how many happen, after the end of the year. But then, on the other end of the stick, Miami's going to be aggressive, and Coach Cristobal is going to be aggressive in the portal getting guys, because he makes no bones about this and saying that we're always looking for guys. Okay, we're always looking for somebody that can contribute and help the team. Look at Lucius Stanley, and I keep saying this. Forgive me, guys, on my timeline, my Twitter timeline. I said it a couple times last week. He's the one that reminds me of Damian Berry running the ball, not Henry Parrish. He reminds me a lot of Damian Barry running that ball. Tough inside guy, sneaky fast, but yeah, they're gonna hit that portal hard too, as much as they're gonna tell guys to say bye.
Sean, you got the answer?
Marcus Clark was the
There you
cornerback
go.
that transferred.
There you go.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate that, man.
Pierre is
that's your point.
asking, will Miami ever run a no-huddle offense to suffocate opponents due to the better physical conditioning using the heat and humidity of South Florida to our advantage? Pierre, they cannot do that. They're not there yet offensively to do that. They don't have the receivers to do a no-huddle, my brother. They got one receiver. The rest is unproven. 2, Mario Cristobal, no huddle.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, they're going to huddle, they're going to line up, and they're going to punch you in the mouth,
Yep.
and they're going to run the hell out of the ball, and they're going to run the hell out of the ball, and they're going to run the hell out of the ball, and then they'll pass.
Yep.
So you got a more old school approach to football now than you've had in a long, long time, Pierre. So no, this is not Rhett Lashley, my brother. Okay.
I know it's exciting to watch. It's for the fans and everything, and the points and the excitement, and it gets the defense. Especially you want to use the elements to your advantage. But Miami is. But yeah, especially if it's working with Coach Cristobal. If it ain't broke, he ain't gonna try and fix it.
No, but that's who they're going to be. That's their identity. So
Yeah.
they're going to fill the needs with that identity. They're going to get giant offensive linemen that can punch people in the mouth. They're going to have a carousel of running backs. And eventually, by the way, you will probably see what you saw at Oregon. You're going to see a quarterback. They don't have one right now in Tyler Van Dyke, but there'll be one that'll pass like Tyler, but will run also a little bit like they did at Oregon. So that element will also come back, but it's not going to be one of those, no huddle and quick offense and all that. That's not where Mario comes from, man. That's not. He's a lineman at heart.
Right.
So
And
he wants linemen to be a part of the impact of the game. And quite frankly, I got to tell you something. I'd rather have a team that runs.
Yeah.
That's all.
I
mean,
would too.
look, Alabama has all the titles. Why? Because they can run and they pass on top of playing great defense.
Football at any level, you win it the same way across the board. If you establish the line of scrimmage defensively and offensively, you have a big time advantage to win the game because you control the clock offensively and defensively. You set them up in the sense that first down, second down. First down, second down. Guess what happens third down? They're predictable. And now you bring out that Porsche defense and, whatever you want to call it, Ferrari defense, and you get your guys, you go get that quarterback. And if you could rush, this is the goal with Miami's defense, if you ask me. We just talked about, how it's an old school mentality. You trying to tell me that Kevin Steele doesn't want to get pressure with 4? He absolutely does. If Miami can get pressure with 4, it's going to be over. It's going to be over. So that's got to be the goal for any defense. I mean, you look at the Giants, both times that they won the Super Bowl against the Patriots, same way that the Eagles won it, they were getting to Brady with 4. That almost never happened, and that's part of the reason why those Patriots lost those 3 Super Bowls. But if Miami gets to that level defensively, it's not going to be fair.
I'm with you there. All right. Don't forget, folks, you can follow both Mike and myself, as you see there, his Twitter handle at @UM_radio_Mike. You can catch him on Tuesday night, 8 to 9 p.m. Miami Hurricanes Watch. If you're a Canes fan, it's 1 hour of hardcore Canes talk, interviews with insiders, people that cover the teams, people that cover the opposing team, all kinds of stuff. So you'll get there on Tuesday nights. And then next Tuesday on the 20th, not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday, we're adding another show now, right prior to the Hurricane Watch. We're going to have a college football roundtable, and that'll be Ira Schofel, who actually is the managing editor of War Chant for, 20 years now, easily. And then my buddy Kevin Brockway, who works for the Gainesville Sun and covers the Gators. He's covered the Gators for many years. And, of course, Manny Navarro from The Athletic. So we'll have a college football roundtable. We'll go around the state, and we'll talk about the 3 biggest teams in the state. So if you're a Gators, a Seminoles, or a Canes fan, You're going to love that hour. And if you're a Canes fan, you're going to love the 2 hours because it's all going to be about hardcore college football talk. And remember, we're back tomorrow for pre and post game as we get you ready for the Dolphins and the Patriots. We will have Marcel Louis-Jacques. We will have Cameron Wolf and Joe Shad all joining us on the post-game show. So every angle of that locker room will be covered. We'll have the press conferences just like today in the afternoon. When the game is done, we'll have the Mario Cristobal press conference for you so you can hear from the coach. And then we'll hear from Manny Navarro right after the game. We'll get his thoughts on all of that. So we'll have the insiders part of all of that. That's kind of what this platform is all about, man. It's about covering all your local teams and bringing you the insiders that cover the teams, that are in the locker rooms, that are talking with the coaches, that are breaking stories. That's what you get here on this platform. All right. We got it. Now it's time. We're gonna play a little game that you and I are gonna have some fun with every week. And it's the top 25 college showdown. And what we do is I get a couple of games that are in the top 25, and we go against the number, and we have to pick the number and the team. Okay. So first up, we're going to go with number 1 Alabama taking on 1-0 Texas. In Texas, but they're favored by 21 points. The over and under is 64.5. Mike McCoy, what do you say? Where are you going?
Said they're favored by 21. The over under is 61.5.
64.5.
64.5. Ooh.
Cheating yourself out of 3 more points and making it an even harder decision.
I'm taking the under. I don't think it's going to be.
That's your pick?
I don't think it's going to be high. Yeah.
Under 64.5. You're going.
Yep.
Okay. I am. All right. I like it. I am going Bama minus 21 on that one. All right. A 3:30 game. Number 6, Texas A&M, Miami's next week opponent, who is 1-0, taking on App State, who scored about 4,000 points against UNC, I believe, last week.
Yep.
Texas A&M at home is favored by 18.5. The over and under is 54. What say you, Mike McCoy?
I'm going over 54.
You're going over 54. Over 54.
For a lot of reasons.
Right. Yeah, me too. That I am also going over 54 on that one too. I don't think Texas A&M's defense is just going to shut down App State. So I am with you on that one. At 3:30 this afternoon, number 19 Wisconsin is taking on Washington State. Both are undefeated. So the Cougars come in undefeated, but they are dogs. Wisconsin is favored by 17.5 points at home, and the over and under is 49. What say you, Mr. McCoy?
I'm going to take the under. I think Wisconsin covers. I'm going to take the under. That's smash mouth type football. I think they're just at home. They're going to want to stick on that. Last week, their running back, 14 carries, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm going to take the under.
Under 49, Washington State and Wisconsin for Mike McCoy. All right. I like that. I am going to go Wisconsin minus 17.5. I'm going to lay the wood on that one. I think the Cougars are going to fall short on the road. I think they will wilter on the road. All right. At 7:00, big SEC showdown. Number 20, Kentucky, who is playing much better football over the last few years. They have become a football program, not just a basketball program, and they're getting guys drafted into the NFL too. Taking on number 12, Florida, who had that terrific win last week, and obviously the quarterback was just a star last week.
Yeah.
Both are undefeated. Florida is favored at home over Kentucky by 5.5 points. The over and under is 51.5. What say you, Mr. McCoy?
I'm gonna go over. I think we see a lot of points.
You're a total honk here. So you're going over. Yeah, you love over and unders. You lay no points. Okay, over and under in Kentucky, Alabama. Florida.
Kentucky, Florida, right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go actually Kentucky, and
Okay.
I'm gonna take the 5.5 points. I think
I can see
Kentucky
that.
has
I can see where
actually
they
given Florida some problems lately, and I'm not saying they're gonna win, but I think it'll be a close game, and I think
I
Kentucky
do
will
too.
make it respectable. So I'm going to take the 5.5 points here, and I'm going with Kentucky in this one. All right, 7:30. Number 10 USC taking on Stanford. Both are undefeated. USC is favored by 9. The over and under is 67 points. What say you, sir?
I'll take the points.
You're taking the points?
Yeah.
So you're going Stanford plus 9.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Stanford plus 9. I am going under 67 in the USC Stanford game.
Okay.
All right, 7:30. Arizona State undefeated, 1-0, visiting number 11. Come after me. I'm a man.
Yeah.
55. Oklahoma State is 1-0. Now, the coach, the man with the mullet, is favored by 11.5 points. The over and under is 58 in this Pac-12, Big 10, Big 12, whatever the hell is left matchup.
Right.
What do we got?
I'm going over. I think there's a lot of fireworks in that one. I'm going over. What is it? You said 67?
58.
58, sorry. Yeah, I'm going over.
Okay, over 58. Oklahoma, Arizona State. I am going to go OKC minus 11.5. I don't think Arizona State is very good this year. And I think Oklahoma State, they usually have a pretty damn good offense.
Right.
So Oak State for me, minus 11.5. Finally, later on in the evening, a game that I definitely will not end up finishing because I'll probably start it, but I'll fall asleep by halftime because I got to get up and actually work for a living. Number 9, Baylor. Yeah, are you gonna stand for Baylor and BYU at 10:15 starting? No, right?
I'm going to, because last week when I got home
right. You don't
from
have to get up in the morning.
I got to. I am, because last week I didn't watch much college football. I knocked out soon. I didn't even get to watch the Florida game or the Ohio State game. And Baylor. I'm sorry. Yeah, Baylor at BYU, like you were gonna say. Both teams undefeated.
This is good. This is a good game, dude. I mean, I'm going to leave it recorded. Maybe I can catch up later. But number 21 BYU is hosting number 9 Baylor.
Yeah.
And BYU is favored by 2.5 points. Not an easy place to play.
No.
Not an easy place to go to. Baylor and BYU, the over and under is 54.5. Mike Scott, where are you going? Mike McCoy, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna go under the 54.5. Yeah. I think it's
under
a low scoring affair.
54.5. Okay.
Yeah.
I am actually I am going to take Baylor here in this one.
Okay.
I'm going to go Baylor plus 2.5 minus plus 2.5. I'm sorry. I think they're going to win the game. Actually, I think they'll eke it out. I like Baylor's offense, so I think. Huh? What?
I don't blame you.
Yeah. I like Baylor's offense. I think their offense will work well on the road. And I don't think BYU's defense, I haven't seen enough of them this year, obviously, but I just think there'll be more, and there'll be enough offense that they can eke it out by a field goal on the road. So I'm going to go Baylor minus 2.5 against BYU. So that is our trip around the top 25. And we'll see how it all works out. We'll talk about it on during the week on Tuesday, on Monday. Actually, we'll talk about it when you join us for your hit
at 1 o'clock
on Monday. As we remember, Mike joins us on Monday for his wrap on the game. So after press conferences, we find out about injuries and all that good stuff. He'll follow up with us on Monday, and then Tuesday he's got his show, and then he's back. Saturday night, we're working the Texas A&M game. I'm just hoping that we're on the road just like
I hope so too, man.
I'm hoping we're on the road like the Canes. So we will find out. As always, by the way, if your business wants to be a part of our platform, you can call our business line at 786-754-4664. If your business wants to join our growing platform, headed for 26 million downloads this year on the audio side. We're building a lot on the YouTube side. We're over 14,000 subscribers. So if your business wants to join our platform and get great exposure nationally, statewide, or even South Florida, 786-754-4664. Great branding for your company joining our platform. All right. The last one we got to talk about, it's the Canes. Miami is favored by 26.5, Mike. And the over and under is 51. How do you feel about the Canes today?
Man, it's confusing, man, because like you said, I'm kind of at a crossroads as to how they're gonna attack this, and I think it's hopefully gonna lean in the side of get in, play well, get out, so that way you're not lingering and having to play these guys longer than they're supposed to. That said, answer the question, I think I'm gonna take the over. I think Miami scores a lot of points and tries to make a statement going into College Station next week.
I'm with you there. I'm going with this one's not part of our competition here. The other one was the other top 25. This one here, I'm laying the wood. I already did it. I laid the 26.5 and I went over 51. I got plenty of conviction in this game. I think Mario is dead set on making his team better this week from last week. And so I'm expecting the Canes to show us improvement in that way, even though they're playing a tougher opponent, not tougher in the sense that this is a tough opponent. They should trounce this opponent. But what I'm saying is it's a little stiffer test than Bethune-Cookman. So I'm laying the wood, man. I'm going 26.5. I think they'll win by 30 or more easily, and they're going to go over 51 in this game.
Right.
Southern Miss will get, 6, 10, 12 points, and then obviously Miami's going to go 50, 60, 70 points in this game. You can't let up if you're Mario, because you're trying to find out about everybody.
Right.
First team, second team, third team. You're trying to find out about everybody.
Combinations.
So you want everybody to block. You want everybody to run. You want everybody to catch. You want everybody to score.
Exactly.
That's the way you're looking at it. There's no sympathy or anything for the other side. You got to worry about your team.
And then the thing is, I keep saying Ole Miss. Damn it, Southern Miss is so one-dimensional this week that it should make things so much easier on both sides of the ball, especially defense. That this should be no contest by halftime.
You got it. On behalf of Mike McCoy, David Wilson, Scott Watkins, Sean Stanley, the man that masters all of this, and Chad Shobe, of course, helping us out. We will see you when the game ends. Immediately when the game ends, we take the air, and we will be right here on the platform ready for the post-game show. Manny Navarro will join us. We'll have all the post-game press conferences ready for you. We will see you in a couple of hours. Go Canes.
This has been the Miami Hurricanes pregame show on the Sports Talk 305 network. The show is mastered by Sean Stanley and Chad Shobe. Please subscribe to our platform by searching Big O Radio Show on all digital avenues. We'll be back with a complete wrap-up of the game once the last second ticks off the clock. Thank you for your support and enjoy the game.